I apologize. So I've spent the past 30 minutes basically reading to myself. I'm sorry. Um, this thing, I'm frustrated with. Um, so originally, I had set YouTube to um, automatically start streaming as soon as I send a signal to it because my computer here, this camera, and everything you see there has to send a signal through my computer up to the internet to YouTube. Now, YouTube has settings that basically says, hey, you can automatically start as soon as we get a signal, or, um, anyways, it's technical shit, and for some reason, I have to hit go live versus it just automatically starting when I start doing this. So, in any case, I am sorry. So, let's just start all over again, even though you're seeing me now for the first time. It is very cold in here, and I am not happy because locally I've been recording for 25 minutes 58 seconds and I'm only been live for a minute and 15. I really need a producer or a sugar mama to hire people to be able to just let me just come here, show up and start talking versus having to do the whole show all by myself because I'm a one-man show and this isn't fun. I mean, it's fun. It's just not fun when I realize there's a huge technical error. So sorry about that. In any case, ¿Qué pasó, cochinos y cochinas? Soy ese vato gallo, and welcome to another episode of Sucias Are My Favorite. Thank you again thank you for joining me. Now, this episode is called, or going to be called, or it is called, The Theory of 100, or Hypothesis of 100. I got to figure out, I got to talk to a scientist and verify which is which. Hypothesis is, I'm going to go with theory, because I've done a lot of work here. It's not just something that I'm not asking a question and saying, oh, I wonder if this is true. No. I've gotten a lot of data. So I'm going to go and call this the 100, the theory of 100. Okay. So it's fairly simple. You can play along. And this this is specific to cisgendered heteros. I not bi, never played with a guy, and look at a guy and I don't say, there's nothing about a guy that says, ooh, I want to put my dick in that. So I can't speak for that. I can't speak for bisexual relations, gay relations, whatever. I can only speak about what I know, which is cisgendered hetero stuff. In any case, let's just start off, ask yourself, or answer these questions to yourself, because it's not like you can type in the chat. But in any case, first, imagine, if you will, that you've had only 10 sex partners. Now imagine that you've only had sex 10 times with each of those partners for a total of 100. Out of that hypothetical 100 times that you've had sex, how many times did you finish from just the sex? No toys, just you and your partner putting in the work. And by finish, I mean come, climax, orgasm, all that jazz, right? Now this I've been able to, excuse me, this I've been able to ask over 100 females these same series of questions, only because through roller derby I have access to hundreds of females that I can make friends with, get along with, and eventually just joke around or just kind of have some random philosophical questions. One of these, or sometimes these questions kind of fall into that. I've also asked the same question to about the same set of questions to about 3 dozen males. And only 2 out of 36-ish, let's call it 40. Out of about 40 guys, only 2 said that they didn't finish half the time because of erectile dysfunction issues. One said that he only finished 7 or 8 times before coming out, and the last guy said he's waiting until he gets married. But that's been a while. He's probably married by now, and I'm realizing I'm a bad friend. Anyways, now those are the times that guys didn't finish. So all the other guys, or all the other males that I've asked, have said that they finished 95 times or 95% of the time or more. So I saw this pattern in males, and males usually finish, like without fail or almost without fail, males finish. And I wondered why. Like from my own experience, I know my answers, and I've even asked these males why, basically. Why were they able to finish all the time or almost all the time? And this is a consensus of all the males and myself that even if the sex isn't good, or if for whatever reason one cannot get into a groove to finish, we will finish. We will think of something. We'll think of something sexy, a previous partner, fantasize about a celebrity, female coworker, porn star, whatever. We will use our spank bank to get through and finish. We don't really know. I mean, we do need the female to be there, but it doesn't matter what female it is in some cases. Now, the reason the guys didn't finish about 5 times out of 100 is either we rubbed one out before the date, not thinking we're going to get laid, or we drank too much and ended up with whiskey dick. That's essentially the one of 2 reasons why we couldn't finish. Or erectile dysfunction issues, which I guess kind of falls in line with whiskey dick. But in any case, by those numbers, by that information, one might presume or come up with the idea that all women have bomb-ass pussy. However, correlation does not equal causation. Now, I can't speak for all females, but I can relate what they've shared with me. Basically, that the guy wasn't any good in bed and that they had to fake it, or that the guy finished quick and they couldn't get theirs. And apparently, most guys are just one and done. I didn't know this until I was talking to my friends, or female acquaintances. When I noticed this pattern, I asked the females so the pattern I noticed is that males usually finish, but females don't. Why? How can one partner finish more often than the other? And I'll give you the numbers here. So the females, I asked them to break down their numbers. So they basically said that they finished about 60% of the time, and I'm using the mode mean range. The most common number was about 60%. There was 2 females that said that they've never climaxed from sex. They can only climax from using their toys. And 1 female said that she finishes all the time without exception. So I wondered, how is it that we get these numbers? Did all 10 guys help the girls? Did all 10 males make the females climax 6 times each? Or is it something different? And statistically, we would be able to extrapolate that that's not the case. It's not going to be an even 60% every time. So this breakdown is not the exact numbers. This is just, again, statistics from the most common or frequent numbers that I got from my female friends. And the outliers I've already mentioned was the 2 that never have and the 1 that always does. On average, with most females, let me put this back on because I'm getting cold again. Okay, so on average, two males only make them climax 2 times. One makes them climax 3 or 4, another male 6 times, 2 others 7 or 8, another 2 about 9 times, and only 1 out of all the other 10 got them to finish all 10 times consistently. And the 7, 9, and 10 climaxes, some of them were multiple orgasms. I didn't pry too much as to how a guy could give them multiple orgasms but only end up with 9 times that they finished. I think they meant that only out of 9 sessions they climaxed. I didn't specify when I asked the question. So some females admitted that they gave the males oral, so they didn't get anything out of it. And I didn't define sex as penis and vagina, so I guess they inferred any type of sex versus vaginal sex or vaginal penetration. So what's the point of all this, and how did I come up to my idea about this theory of 100? Actually, I haven't explained it. So my theory of 100 is that males will finish, females may not. And not that it's not a permission thing, it's just males aren't always good enough to make the females finish. Train of thought. In any case, so this is my theory of 100, that invariably guys, when asked these questions, they're going to say they finished, and females will answer that about 60% of the time they finished. Some may a little bit more, some a little bit less, but on average it's about 60%. So this kind of ties into my sex theory outline as to how there are those males that can deliver 9 or 10 times out of 10 and multiple orgasms. So I think that everyone in up until about their mid 20s, sometimes even later, but about till your mid 20s, you are an extension of your own perception, self image, self esteem of who you were in high school. Now, I'm not saying that you're still a band geek in your 20s. What I'm saying is that your self image and your perception is based off of what others thought of you in high school. And you just kind of carry that along like, okay, yeah, I'm not cool. I'm not whatever. Or, yeah, I am cool and I'm the best thing ever. Um, that perception carries on. It helps you with either dating females or not dating females, or is just hooking up with the opposite sex or hooking up with whatever your preferred orientation is. That's preferred. What your orientation is. Sorry. Any case, so with all these experiences with the populars, which is like the upper 10%, the average people, which is the 80%, and then the geeks and weirdos, which is the bottom 10%. I kind of fell in all and none of these groups at the same time. I was in football. Was a cheerleader. I was in band 1 year. I was in drama, and I was in honor roll. But I had friends from middle school that were in other different groups. That they were either potheads or they were the kickers, country music fans. They were in RTC. They were in all these other groups or cliques that I was still friends with, and I would hang out with them or be a chameleon because my own perception was I am first and second generation Mexican American. I spent a lot of my time or most of my summers as a kid in Mexico, so my Spanish is impecable. So the point is, with Latin American born people that were in high school, their perception of me is I'm a gringo. Just because I can speak Spanish and because I have the same heritage doesn't mean that I was one of them. I was a gringo because I was born here. And because we didn't have the same experiences growing up with like 80s music or television shows or whatever that the commonality that they wanted or expected out of me, I didn't have. So to them, I was a white boy. With Caucasians, I was just a spick or a Chicano or whatever, depending on how comfortable they were with their racism, or if they were not racist at all, I was one of them. I was seen as white, or I was just seen as a Chicano. So depended on their perceptions of people. So I had to fit in with whatever group I was with, kind of like a chameleon. So I was able to see all these different groups and how they interacted. In any case, it kind of goes into a person's character. You can't define someone based on who they were in high school. The person or a person should be defined of who they are and what they do now and today. They may have had a pattern of being a thief or a liar as a kid in high school. They could have been a super geek as well in high school, like not having any friends. And now they could be, something different, completely different, right? You can know a pothead in high school that's now a CEO or an entrepreneur or something else, right? And also kind of tied in with that with like a person's character. You can't define what someone is. Hang on. Sorry, this concrete is so cold that I can feel it through my boots coming up. So my feet are freezing. I put a blanket on the ground. So let's try this some more or again. Ow. So yeah, a person's character can't be defined based on how many people they sleep with. What's the difference between someone that has one partner, they sleep with them 5-10 times a day through their 20s, eventually sleeping with them, about 3,000 times by the time they're in their 30s, or someone that has 500 different partners by the time they're 30, or even 100. Just call it 100 different partners, not 100 different times having sex, but just 100 partners by the time they're in their 30s. Which one of those people are good? Which one of them are bad? You can't call it based off of that. In any case, to reiterate that, who we were in high school defines who we are after high school for a few years, with some exceptions. And keep in mind, these are just generalizations and, again, limited to cisgendered heteros as far as relationships and sex goes. And so, yeah, the three types of people: popular, average, and weirdos, right? Um, you might have known a couple of people in different groups, depending on how not popular you were, but how comfortable you were with talking or hanging out with other cliques. But for the most part, I was that guy that a lot of different cliques knew of because I had friends either in different groups, cliques, whatever. Um, but I didn't belong to any one particular clique. So I was kind of a loner geek, but at the same time, I could blend in or hang out with any of these different groups. So, anyways, how popular are defines, or not defines, affects kind of how you see yourself and how you do in relationships. And it might seem weird that how that's where I'm getting at with this, but and it's not scientific. These are just off of conversations with friends, male and female. So, in popular male, or just a popular couple, is rare. If they are a couple, that's rarely, it doesn't last more than the school year. The only couple that I know that lasted all 4 years of high school and are still together were just an average group. They were both average. The popular males and females usually kind of stick with each other. They might hook up with, punching below their weight. Because the males have the choice of basically any female they want. They have a string of females waiting in line to hook up with them. A figurative line, not a literal line, right? But they don't have to put any effort into picking up females or reading nuances, body language, any of that, because all they got to do is, hey, you come here, and be a little bit flirty and end up hooking up with a female for the night. And it doesn't matter how they treat them because there's still going to be a line of females still wanting to hook up with that male. Females have to be a little bit more cautious about it. They have to embrace the fact that they'll be called a slut if they're promiscuous, but at the same time, they want sex as much as males do, which I didn't find out until I was older. But in any case, males and females want sex. Females just have to be more tactical about it, if that makes any sense. Or discreet. They have to be discreet about it. And they would sleep with a few guys, or they just have one guy that they keep with, a fuck buddy all through high school, or they have a fuck buddy per year. And they might even date one of the other popular guys. But for the most part, females kind of just have to be, or popular females had to be just discreet about what they were doing, right? In any case, the average people, like myself included, we wanted to fuck everything that, or I know I wanted to fuck everything that moves, but I didn't have that opportunity. Even though I was funny and jovial and could blend into any of the groups or cliques I hung out with, most other guys don't have the confidence to just try to pull this off. And they will settle for hooking up with whoever they can. My hang up was I was terrified of getting a female pregnant, and a whole thing that my mother told me that basically I'm responsible for you, not your kid. So if that little bitch loves you enough to open her legs, she better love you enough to take you in, because I'm not raising your kid. So that was my hang up, or what kept me from hooking up more or having more sex in high school. Not that I didn't want to, I just was like really scared of getting a girl pregnant. But in most cases, excuse me, in most cases, these couples, these groups in the average group would try to stick with each other for as long as possible because they don't know when the next time they're going to get laid. Yeah, they know they could possibly get laid because they're kind of attractive, and maybe someone flirts with them or jokes around with them or puts their hand on their shoulder and says, ooh, this, that, or the other, and just basically flirtation. But they don't have the confidence to act on it because they worry, if I act on it and my girlfriend finds out, now I'm not getting anything. So it's a lot of a mindfuck in high school, on top of trying to identify and figure out who you are and go through school and do all the shit you got to do to be in school. I would say that most high school, or the average people, would put a little bit more effort into pleasing their partners. not so much as like their goal is to please their partner, just that um, they'll pay attention to, okay, she's making these sounds, okay, she's coming, okay, she stopped, all right, now I can finish. Um, Not realizing that you got to read the breathing, the body language, not just the random moans. It could just mean that it feels good, and now you start jackrabbiting in, and now you killed her mood, and now she's just going to fake it to get you off of her. Of course, high school guys don't know this. In any case, sometimes they might find someone that they can be open with and try all kinds of freaky things. Though that's rare. At least in my friends and conversations with people and who they were back in high school, the geeks were the ones that were more likely to experiment and try different things, um, just because they figured, hey, I might as well try it because who knows if I'll ever get laid again. It's more of, will I ever, versus the average person thinking, maybe in a few months, maybe I can find someone. Like it's more hopeful to get laid, and populars, of course, don't even have to think about it. They're going to. In any case, you would think that the popular people, popular males, who get to have sex with some frequency, at least every weekend, if not more, you would think that they would be great in bed. But you'd be wrong because, again, correlation isn't causation. At least in my experience, from what I've heard from female friends, is that, what do you call it? They've been with a few hot males, hot guys, that were popular in high school, and they hooked up with them after high school, like in college and after college as well. And I'm going to share a story that is an amalgam of all these stories, so that way I'm not calling anyone in particular out. But in case, so female hooks up with a guy in her 20s. Is kind of disappointed, but figured, well, we were both drunk. We met at a club or whatnot. So let's just try it again. He's hot, so he might be worth it, right? So they meet up again, go out for drinks. Again, she's disappointed, and she realized, okay, we still drink. Make sure we're sober. So they go out for a third time, and again, she's disappointed. And the guy wants to meet up with her again, and she's had enough, and she finally just says, you know what? You suck in bed. All you do is just go like a jackrabbit and roll off when you're done. So I can see, or I don't see a lot of females calling males out, or just anyone in general calling a sexual partner out. But these females that had a bad day, bad experience with these guys, and they just wanted them to leave them alone. Um, some of the males would respond with, something to the effect of, "Oh yeah, whatever. You're just saying that because if you don't like me, you don't have to make up lies." Essentially, they didn't want to believe that they were bad in bed and that the female was just making up an excuse or a story so she didn't have to see him again. A couple of the males in the scenarios that have been shared with me, some of the males would just kind of ghost them for a while and then come back after realizing or talking to exes and coming to the realization that they've never had a lasting relationship or any friends with benefits that have lasted more than a few months. Like they just get tired of him, and he just thought of, at the time, his perception was, oh, well, I'll just find someone new. Maybe they got a boyfriend. Like it never dawned on the male that he was bad in sex, or it never dawned on him that he was the reason why he didn't have a girlfriend or a long-term relationship. So some of those males that had that introspection came back to the females and said, okay, hey, I want to try, I want to learn, I want to get better. And a few of them agreed, others just told them to fuck off, right? But in any case, most popular males have this idea that there's an abundance of women. And this kind of ties into red pill males. Basically males that believe in the red pill, which is an idea that is females are just there for the male's pleasure, and eventually over time they might be worth keeping around as a girlfriend. But essentially their idea is to get in shape and fuck as many women as possible. There's more nuances into it. It's like reading books, improving your self-confidence. But the books and their focus is to becoming a male, an alpha, a Chad that females desire. It's not a self-improvement for self-improvement. So that's kind of like my divergence and where I don't agree with the whole red pill idea. And some of them, some red pill males, um, use that idea to be able to find a good mate, which is a viable dating strategy, though I know most females are not too happy about it. But I do know that females would rather timeshare a man than to be stuck with a boy. And I'll get into that in another episode. But in any case, so for the red pill males, the idea, your perception is to have an abundance of plates, but one day you just might catch feelings and you might actually want to have a relationship. Um, it might not, and it might not work out for you because you just focus on yourself and you don't care about your partner. And a relationship is always like a two-way street. You got to work. A relationship is about putting in 100% of the work. Sometimes you put in 100, sometimes he puts in 100. Sometimes you put in 10, she puts in 90, but ideally you both put in 50-50. And you kind of scale it up as needed. Sometimes you're having a bad day, sometimes she's having a bad day. So that's a concept that I don't think most red pillars can get, and hopefully it sinks in with somebody. In any case, surprisingly, the geeks or the unpopulars could be the best in bed. My only guess, or not my guess, but I'm extrapolating for some of the information they told me, is that they were just young, had one or two partners, and that they were super comfortable with them, and that's what made them want to try more. So I'm guessing because of that confidence and safety, it's almost like the BDSM community where you have that link of safety, trust, and consent. With all those three, I guess they had that in those geek relationships, although they didn't have the terms for it and they didn't follow any rigid structure. It was just something that kind of naturally happened with them, which I think should be is trust, trust, safety, and consent, and open communication. That's kind of another important factor, but that's not part of the sex. That's more part of having a better relationship, I think. In any case, the popular kids, all they really cared about is just busting a nut. With the average people, it's kind of a crapshoot because sometimes they might have tried to get better, sometimes they're just happy with their status quo. And then, excuse me, the geeks could be really great in bed or could be really bad. Not that they're bad at sex, they just are set in their ways and they're not willing to diverge to kind of meet their partner. So it's kind of a crapshoot with the unpopulars. In any case, the average people are more consistent in being average in bed. Sometimes they're really good. Some of them can teach a porn star a thing or two. And my guess it's kind of similar to the geek situation where they find someone that they're comfortable to get better with and experiment and try different things. And hopefully it's because the females have a good experience with their partner that they're willing to make their significant other happy. Kind of the old adage, happy wife, happy life, where if you please your partner, she's more willing to please you rather than a female that's just in an unhappy marriage or an unhappy relationship and is unwilling to please her partner just because her partner's a jerk. She'll just, I guess, lay there and take it, right? And as a side note, bouncing this idea with a friend, she pointed out that part of the women not caring about pleasing a jerk also plays a big role in marriage. And she's relayed to me that she's heard that from her married female friends. And so that's an aspect that I hadn't thought of because I haven't been married for a while. And in my last marriage, we were a lot more open. So we didn't have, I guess, not toxic friends, but just friends that weren't on the same wavelength as us, right? In any case, in terms of like one night stands, both male and female are kind of caught up in the moment. And they, or we, when we have a one night stand, kind of show off to an extent. So a one night stand isn't a good indicator of how good someone is in bed. I would say more it's a good indicator of how freaky, dirty, perverted, social they are. As in, you kind of get a glimpse as you get an idea or a glimpse of their limits, right? So imagine I'm behind a female, doggy style. If I put my thumb on her brown eye, I'll find out real quick if she's into anal. Um, you might not get to have anal sex on the first night, but you'll kind of get an indication whether she's open to it or not. And that's just something I've learned over time. Something that's kind of like stuck in my head. In any case, our sexual prowess is still kind of an extension of who we are in high school. So it's not just our perception, but also our prowess or how well we do in bed. This is just another idea or hypothesis that I, excuse me, that I came up with from candid conversations with female friends, sex partners, male coworkers, and again, this is specific to breeders. Okay, so yeah, we have the three types of people in high school. Yeah, sorry. I try to show off how cold it is in here by opening the lid and showing all the steam, but you can't see the steam on camera. Oh, can't see it. I could probably play with the shutter or f-stop, but I'm not going to mess anything up. I'm going to just stick with what I got. In any case, so yeah, in high school, like I said, I was average. I was a chameleon. And like I said, I felt more akin to the weirdo group, um, even though I was an honor roll, and not because I was particularly smart, just because I had a really good memory or sense of recall. So I could pass any test just by listening to the teacher, and I'd get 90s or better without even trying. And so I was that kid that everybody hated because it didn't seem like I did any work or homework or studying, which I didn't. I don't know how to study. I can't take notes. I don't know how to study. So it fucked me in college, but that's another story. In any case, so being all these different groups and spending summers in Mexico growing up, and even going to school in Mexico for a few semesters or different semesters, mi español es impecable, aunque, or even though the Latin Americans didn't see me as one of them because I was born here. And it was funny because sometimes they would assume I was one of them because I would pick up on their slang. Um, Different places in Latin America have different words for like money and friend and pickup and stuff. So I would use their terms for whatever they were talking about, and they would assume that I was Puerto Rican, Dominican, and not just the excuse me, not just the slang that I was using, but also the intonation, how fast I spoke, and how loud. Like I'd follow them. Dominicans and Puerto Ricans speak very fast. Mexicans are like average speed. Others, like Argentinians or excuse me, South Americans, usually have more of a lazy, not a drawl, but just kind of a slower speech, but faster when they're excited. So matching them, it was funny because they thought I was one of them until they found out I was born here, and then like, ooh, fuck off, right? So that's where I kind of had kind of part of my hangups of being a weirdo. So if you recall, what does all this have to do with? Well, sorry, what does any of this have to do with being good in bed? And as I mentioned earlier, my female friend, or multiple female friends, told me about their experiences either in college or just meeting a guy um, at a bar, hooking up a few times, and realizing that the guy is just not good in bed. Um, and it's a little warm now. Let me turn this down. All right. um, I'll let it pass and fast forward just for a second because, oh, yeah. Okay. So let's kind of follow in the life of Mr. Johnny Football, right? Again, these are a combination of stories from a few female friends. So Johnny Football in high school gets laid every weekend, right? Even after high school, whether he goes to college or he just stays at home, um, working wherever, fast food, mall, wherever he can pick up and find a lot of females, um, he's able to still get laid every weekend or more frequently than the other guys because he's still in shape. He's still got a six pack. Um, and he never really cares that he hasn't had a girlfriend because why would he want that? Why be tied down to just one? Um, So whether he's in college or has a job and goes to a club every weekend, um, he will usually end up taking someone home or just going out to the car, whatever works, right? And every now and again, he doesn't get laid, which is still rare, or which is rare early on out of high school, but he can still call someone that he hooked up a few weeks ago and have a friends with benefit, and maybe she'll say she's busy, no big deal, but he can still pick up a female, no big deal, right? Then he gets to his mid 20s. Maybe he has a girlfriend, maybe he doesn't, but maybe if he does, he's got pussy on tap. But why wait till the weekend so he can hook up all week long? Month or two goes by, she breaks up with him, he's single again, no biggie. She was a bitch, he got tired of her, she was a headache, whatever. Still going to the clubs, but now he's almost 30. Maybe he's got a bad divorce under his belt, or bad marriage, divorce under his belt. Never realizing that he's bad in bed because he doesn't have to worry about anything because they can do all the work. He doesn't have to focus on them because they're coming to him anyway. So he gets what he wants without having to give anything in return. And that's a perception he gets because he was a popular guy in high school or college, depending if he blossomed or was a late bloomer. But in general, if you're popular in high school or college, you carry that on and expect everything to be given to you. Or you expect it because you want to fuck everyone over because they ignored you in high school, right? It's one of the two. But essentially, the males are only worried about getting theirs. And of course, this is a picture painted by about 10, 15 different females of experiences they've had with guys, either directly or by being a social media stalker. But in any case, I reached out to a few other female friends and asked if they had any bad sex experiences like my first friend had with the popular guy and ends up later not being good in bed. And from those friends, I was able to piece this story together, or Mr. Johnny Football story. So now, example number 2. I've kept in touch with some of the weirdos. Well, not really kept in touch, but kind of just reached out to them. We talk or wish each other happy birthday or happy New Year's, whatever, every now and again. But 2 of these friends, they don't have consistent sex life. They'll go years before having a partner. But when they do, it's usually with another weirdo. Or not so much a weirdo, but someone that's really into Renaissance Fair or someone that's really into Star Trek or D&D, something that's just off the beaten path. And so they have less reservations of doing things because they're on the same level and they're willing to try. They'll communicate and say, hey, I saw this and I want to try it. I guarantee you, if someone brings up, or not guarantee you, let me backtrack. I don't want to write a check I can't cash. But I would bet that if you've ever had or dated someone that might have suggested dressing up as a clown, dressing up as a furry, something outside of like a French maid outfit, nurse's outfit, construction worker, the prototypical delivery guy, the prototypical porn stories or porn scenarios, if they describe or suggest something different, I would be willing to bet that they're one of the geeks, weirdos, whatever, right? So what happens or how does an average male get better, right? Because usually they're just grateful for getting laid in the first place because they don't think with their big head. They just follow whatever their dick tells them to do, right? And at some point, they realize they can get a female to keep coming back if they put it on them right. If they lay the pipe right. Maybe they don't have the effort or they don't have the energy to do it all the time, but if they are consistent in making their females finish, making their female partner finish, and then they finish, as a bonus, they might get to go 1 or 2 more rounds after the first, or they might even have a whole weekend of sex, right? So this performance stemming from high school, just bear with me a little bit longer. So yeah, the weirdos pair up with their, damn it, I'll have to turn it up. I gotta wait for this to scroll up because it's like notes for me to say and like remember to do things. But yeah, so yeah, weirdos usually latch on and experiment more with each other than the average people do. And I would say that the weirdos are more like the BDSM or kink community, where they really explore and experiment because they have that whole idea of safety and trust and consent. Even though they may not use those words or they might not use safe words, um, they have that kind of like basis with each other. If that makes any sense. Um, so the point is that the jocks really never had to put any effort into getting laid. Um, why are you moving so slow? Now you're going slow, slow, slow. Oh no, shit, fuck bananas. Now I fucked everything up. Was it shift reverse? Oh, okay, yeah. I did it the wrong way. I went. Anyways, so yeah, I messed up my reader, teleprompter. There we go. Why do I have? Oh, I couldn't paste. Oh yeah, yeah. So I was having technical difficulties. Laptop that I had my show notes in. Um, Heck, no. So, anyways, I had my show notes written on a laptop. That laptop charger took a dump, so now I can't charge that laptop up anymore. And I didn't back up or save my show notes that I had finalized. So I'm going off of old show notes. Fuck me. And sorry about this. I'm just, why am I? I've got like a bunch of repetitive stuff going over. Da, 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 da. Oh, yeah, yeah. Slow you down too. Ah, you motherfucker. In any case, let's see if I can pull up the notes over here somewhere. Yeah, the idea, the point is wherever you are in high school, um, usually most males aren't good in bed because they don't realize that pleasing their partner will end up pleasing them, and it's kind of just falls back into that whole idea of happy wife, happy life. Damn it! Let's see if I can pull up these notes better over here. And I got a couple of text messages of like, "Hey, where are you?" Yeah, yeah, I'm here. Sorry, just technical difficulty. So I really need, you know what? It'd be great if I could have like a sugar mama, because then I could hire production people to like do all the work, and I just stay here in front of the camera and look pretty, right? In any case, most of us get laid. How's applying a theory? Why is that repeated? Don't tell me that. Yep. So in any case, has this ever happened to you? Or like, has any of this applied to you? Were you popular in high school? Were you average? Were you a geek? Um, and does this theory or idea resonate with you? Like, does, okay, now this makes sense or that makes sense? Um, I apologize. I really do, because I expected, or I had everything like ready to rock and roll. Um, go to get my laptop ready to upload. It's dead. I go to charge it. Charger's dead. And so now I'm going off of older notes and revisions. And apparently I cut and paste something like 2 times. So, in any case, yeah, do you think this information will be helpful for you in the future, as in picking out other males? Now, this doesn't mean that like a crap. This doesn't mean that a popular male in high school or average male or a geek in high school is going to be bad in bed. Is just an indicator of what their perception or how they see relationships and how they treat sex. So before you hook up with someone, kind of find out who they are. Don't just have a one night stand because you haven't gotten laid in months because of all this COVID nonsense. Um, put a little effort into getting to know your partner and share ideas. Let them know, hey, you're into X, Y, or Z. Maybe they don't want to mess with you, but at least you'll save yourself the problem of, or the ordeal of having to deal with bad sex. And that's a whole other episode. So if you made it this far, thank you for coming along for the journey. I apologize once again for being kind of all over the place. I basically spent the first 30 minutes that the show wasn't on saying most of what I already said. And again, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. If any of this made sense, give us a like and maybe share it with someone you know. Maybe, oh shit, this guy knows what he's talking about, or this guy is a fucking retard. Let's laugh at him. Either way, I'm okay with it. But thank you again for joining me for the episode, or thank you again for joining me for the podcast and the live stream. Next week's episode, which I will have written down because I'm gonna work off of my phone. That's not gonna crash. I got dozens of what do you call them? iPhone chargers. So I'm not gonna. Fingers crossed, nothing happens to this phone, but hopefully I'll be able to back up more often and frequently with what I have set up here. And yeah, so next week, the podcast or the idea is no complaints or the funny things females say to impress me or to try to impress me. Until next time, I love you guys. Besos.